Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. Quick info before we begin. In today's video I've got two stories for you and both of them have updates. So let's get started with the first one. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user No 80 Hour Week. My 40 male, wife 38 female is upset at me for turning down a job promotion. A few years ago, I was working 80 hours a week and working on weekends. I hated it. It was horrible. I had no time to see my kids. They were usually asleep when I got back, and my sex life was non-existent. The only good thing was the pay was very generous. It was so bad that I was thinking about ending it all quite often. I quit eventually and quickly found another job in the same field, but this was only a 40-hour week, 6 days a week. The work schedule is much more tolerable and I can come home by 7 every day and still have dinner with my family and see my kids. The pay is nearly half what I earned in my previous job, but still very manageable. Right now, I make close to $7,000 a month. We also had to downgrade our home. You see, we used to live in a 5-bedroom house, but we were only using 3 rooms. The other 2 rooms were 1 guest room and 1 office. I put it in quotes because we never used it. We moved into a much smaller house with 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. There is 1 room for each of my daughters and 1 bedroom for me and my wife. Regarding money, I handle all the finances because my wife really isn't good with money. Yes, even though we have much fewer luxuries than before, all of our needs are being met, and I am able to save half my pay, around $3,300 per month. I have saved almost $12,000 for my eldest daughter and almost $6,000 for my younger daughter. I have $85,000 for my general savings account and have other investments. Every month my wife gets an allowance of $250 to spend on whatever she wants. This does not include groceries and other household expenses as I do all the household shopping and grocery shopping. And we have 2 cars that have been paid off fully. I would say that despite my salary being halved, we still lead a comfortable life. My wife is a stay-at-home mom, so we rely on my salary. And here's our issue. Last month, I was offered a promotion that will almost double my pay. However, this promotion also changes my duties and requires me to work all 7 days of the week and requires me to be able to travel for work frequently. I'm expected to work around 70 hours a week, which I do not want to do so again. I turned down the offer, citing my family commitments, and my boss was very understanding. However, my wife is upset with me for turning down the promotion. She said we needed the money, and if I had taken the promotion, we wouldn't need to stay in a crappy house like the one we are living in now. There isn't anything wrong with the place we live in now. The backyard is small, but my kids don't really enjoy playing outside, and the house is in a respectable neighborhood and is actually closer to my daughter's schools. There isn't anything broken that requires fixing in the place. The house is smaller than it used to be, but that's about it. Is my wife being unreasonable, or is there something I'm not seeing? Well, OP, based on how you explained your marriage dynamic regarding money, I disagree with it, particularly the allowance part. In times when my wife and I were in a similar situation, minus all the money you have, we always saw the one income as our money. That is what worked for us. Maybe your way works for you too. But I don't think so based on your current problem. Now, regarding your job situation, I fully support your decision to quit your previous job, and of course that goes hand in hand with turning down this new job offer. But setting aside my opinion on your money dynamic, I only have one question. Did you ever tell your wife how miserable you were to the point of wanting to end it all? Working 80 hours a week? As a partner, I would be worried if my wife worked that much and would pay attention to see how she's doing, and I know she would be concerned for me too. So I guess that you could also argue that your wife is purposely living in ignorance regarding how miserable you were. But the thing is, I don't know, and I believe that context matters. So here's what I would do depending on the scenario. If your wife is fully aware of how horrible living was for you back then, and she is still angry and demanding you take the job for the money, well, then she can go get a high-paying job if she wants it that badly, and I would rethink my future with her. But if she doesn't know, because you've never told her about how dark it was for you, maybe she thinks you didn't like your job, but she didn't know you hated your life, which I think is a really big difference. then maybe you should sit down with her and tell her. If she loves you, then I'm sure she will understand, and she will probably feel a lot of shame for wanting you to get that other job. And maybe she could even start applying for other jobs if she still feels that you guys need more money. My point is that after having that conversation, I think you would be in a great position to know what you guys need to do. And what do you guys think about this situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Sultan Linen says, if your wife would like to increase your income by a factor of 2, might I suggest she get a job? I don't think you're unreasonable for turning down the promotion. On the other hand, does she really know how bad it was for you mentally? I'd make sure that she's totally clear on what you were sacrificing and what you were not willing to continue to sacrifice in your old job. You also mentioned that you completely control the finances because she's not good with money. It might be a good idea to reevaluate your situation to make sure you're both okay with where the belt has been tightened. E.g., if she'd rather have a bigger going out budget in exchange for, I don't know, dialing back on the cable package. Part of your wife's distress may be founded on her not having any financial say in the house. Deleted says, it's perfectly reasonable for you to turn it down. Time spent with family, friends, and hobbies is much more valuable than the extra money to you right now. All of your other finances are in order. You're definitely not struggling, and you're saving quite a bit. $250 is a bit low for an allowance if she's really doing all the household stuff. Maybe she feels like you guys are struggling because she doesn't have a bit more financial freedom. You're also saving $3,300 a month, which is quite a lot, really. Many people take home less than that. Saving is good, but this is a relatively aggressive policy. Have you thought about possible upgrades you could do around the house? And Benzoma says, sir, you are so generous to allow a $62 a week allowance. That's like 6 times what my allowance was as a 10-year-old in the 1990s. You must be able to do so much with that $62 per week. You can go to one movie or go to lunch twice. Well, once if you have a drink or two with lunch. Or if you're a woman, get 1/3 of a haircut. Sarcasm. I'm a guy, and you even calling it an allowance is deplorable, but $250 a month is a meager amount of disposable income for an adult human to live on, especially when trapped with 2 children full-time. Option 1. She gets a part-time job and she controls all of that money herself, as you control all of yours. Option 2, you actually share the savings that you earn for the family. Because if I was her, I'd be leaning towards option 3, Googling financial abuse and talking to lawyers that cost less than $250 an hour. OP's edit. Thanks for all the opinions. My wife knows I hated my previous job, but I don't think she understands the extent of it and how bad it really was. I do not think $250 a month for personal needs is a bad deal, but I don't spend much myself. I guess I could increase the monthly allowance. My wife does not make financial decisions because she is really bad with money, and she has racked up credit card debts worth $35,000, which took a long time for us to pay off. This was before we had kids, and it was a mutual decision to let me handle the money. I think we need to have a really long talk. Thanks again for all the replies. Some people are suggesting that she could go back to work, and I think part-time work could be good, especially since our kids are already in school. Alright, well, the community definitely gave OP a lot of different angles and opinions, and regarding what that third commenter said regarding financial abuse, I think he's correct on the broad terms, but in OP's particular case, where they both agreed that OP would manage the money, I feel that that's kind of like a gray area. So here's a side question for you guys. If the couple, that means both partners in a relationship, agree that only one partner will make all the financial decisions while the other will have nothing to say about it, is that still financial abuse? Let me know what you think, and now we move on to the update to see how this story ends. But of course, before that, here's another one of my playlists for you to enjoy after this video. Now let's move on with that update. Thought I would update you as the problem has been mostly resolved and I'm pretty happy with the outcome. Thanks to all the people who responded in the previous post, I did briefly skim through all the replies. The first thing I did was to have an honest talk with my wife about how I felt during my previous job. She knew that I hated it, but not to the extent of how stressed and life-ending I was feeling during those times. I explained everything and said I would never go back to doing more than 50-hour work weeks. Ever. Even if the pay was good, it wasn't worth the mental stress or general well-being. It was a very honest conversation, and I think my wife really understood. She apologized several times and cried a bit. The next part was the house. From my point of view, the place is excellent in every aspect and meets all our needs perfectly, but she wasn't happy with it, so there could have been something I wasn't seeing. And there was. My wife has really picked up on baking and cooking over the years, and in the new house the kitchen is much smaller than the previous one. The kitchen space was sacrificed for a bigger living room space, making cooking and baking an annoying affair for my wife. She says the kitchen is so narrow that she ends up knocking stuff over and she doesn't like working there. It's true, the kitchen is relatively narrow. She apologized for overreacting about the house. I've thought a lot about this, but I don't want to spend extra money on remodeling the kitchen. I think the small kitchen space is something that can be managed, and my wife agreed. She said she was acting frustrated but doesn't see us moving again or spending money renovating. Regarding the general finances, many people were concerned that my wife didn't know anything about our finances. Rest assured, my wife has access to emergency savings and is aware of all my financial decisions. About her allowance, I don't think $250 is very little, but after discussing it with my wife, we agreed that she would go back to work. She has a degree but doesn't want to go back to work in that field, so she has applied to work in a local bakery as a baker or pastry chef, and she just passed the baking test. I was waiting for that confirmation before posting this. She will earn around $1,100 a month and has agreed to put $550 into savings for my younger daughter and used the rest for her desired spending. And I am putting away the $250 that was previously for my wife into savings for our younger daughter too. Overall, I am pretty happy with this resolution. More savings for our daughters and my wife has more money to spend. Also, she says she is allowed to bring home extra treats she bakes, so it's a win-win for everyone. Thanks for the help, Redditors. OP's edit. Okay, some clarification is needed because some people read what they want. My wife has been interested in going back to work for some time now, but has never actually done it, so I didn't force her to go back to work. This was something we talked about and she agreed that she wants to go back to work. The work is part-time and she spends $550 on whatever she wants. All the bills, groceries, and other shopping and financial needs are covered by me, but I really don't want to leave any stone unturned, so let me make this transparent. When I say all our needs are being met in my budgeting, this of course includes anything my wife may want or need. Feminine hygiene, birth control, sunscreen, face wash, moisturizer, anti-acne prescription, hair care range, and gifts. About 2 birthdays a month come up for friends and family. It also covers things like weddings. We had to go to 4 last summer. In months with no birthdays, I put this towards the Christmas fund. This also covers clothes. I thrift all my clothes and find that each month I have to buy either a new shirt or new pants. Finally, it also includes transportation. I prefer to use public transportation or the occasional cab, but for the car, I guess this would be the line item for gas. My wife has to pay for nothing of what I listed above or anything along those lines. The allowance was for her to do whatever she wanted outside of the budget. Now I'll save $3,300 plus $250, and around 90% of the balance of my income is spent on paying bills and other necessities. I do not spend much on myself, around $100, and I'm perfectly fine with that. Oh, and as I mentioned earlier, my wife enjoys baking and cooking. Well, I do all the grocery shopping, so all of her required spending for her hobby is covered by me. Smiley face. Now, when I talked about the kitchen renovation, I meant that we would not be making significant changes. We will manage the space by adding more cabinets, lengthening the countertops, and breaking the wall between the balcony and the kitchen for added space. So we are making some minor changes. This was not a decision made by me only. This was after a lengthy conversation with my wife. The basics are only given here, but it was a mutual decision by both of us. There's no need to feel sorry for my wife. She has a job she is excited to start, and we have a sizable savings account which many Redditors don't have. I do agree my language needs to change. It's not my savings, but our savings. And I'm aware of that and will consciously decide to change how I phrase it. I love my wife and we make financial decisions together. My wife is happy with our current arrangement. She has also said she is happy that she can contribute to our savings financially now. I know Redditors seem to resent my saving habits, but I don't want my daughters struggling to pay for university and my wife and I to be dependent on my kids for retirement money. All our savings are for the benefit of our family. OP's final edit. Yeah, I enjoy spending time with my family. Also, I grew up poor and then my wife wrapped up $35,000 of debts and didn't tell me about it until they came to seal the house and remove our furniture. Luckily, most of the things were in my name, so we got by, but that was one of the scariest things I've faced. We were facing homelessness. That crap scares you. This was before we had kids. Having kids ranked my savings habits up a notch. So I know I can't get obsessive about it. I agree. Thank you, Redditors, for listening. Oh, okay, I wanted to call this a happy update and we were doing really well and I think it kinda still is, but you left a really big piece of information out, OP. I mean, you did mention that your wife had racked up $35,000 in debt, but you didn't tell us that she hid that from you until you almost lost your house and were on the street. I mean, that does put your whole savings dynamic into context. But anyways, as of this moment, you guys have had all the conversations you need and are on the same page. So here's wishing you and your wife all the best in the future, OP. Thank you for sharing and take care. Now, let's move on to the next post that, like I said in the beginning, also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Relationships and it's by user Dungeons and Dating. I, 22 female, have developed a crush on my dungeon master, 22 male. What should I do? A couple of months ago, I started playing a Dungeons & Dragons campaign with a new group of people. Some of them are my friends from a university club, but many of them are new friends. I've met the Dungeon Master before as he's come to a few of our club's events, but I never interacted with him too much. Always thought he was kind of cute though. Turns out he's an incredible Dungeon Master, a great knack for storytelling, is supportive, and has a Roman Mars-esque voice. He has a wonderful sense of humor and is a really sweet guy to boot. I'm rather smitten. However, I don't really know how to proceed. I'm not sure if I want to pursue it in case it makes the game awkward. I don't see how any scenario works out well. 1. I don't confess, remain hopelessly pining during game sessions, probably negatively affecting the quality of my decisions and the game. 2. I confess and he doesn't reciprocate. It's awkward, I lose the best D&D group I've had in years. Or 3. I confess and he does reciprocate. I now need to navigate being the Dungeon Master's girlfriend, which I am woefully unprepared for. Any advice would be appreciated. How should I proceed? Well, OP, it is an incredibly difficult decision to make unless you are prepared to put some skin in the game and accept the consequences of your decisions. In my opinion, it all boils down to what is more important to you, the guy or the game. And taking a look at your 3 scenarios, it seems to be the guy. I mean, in scenario number 1, you don't say anything and you're miserable because you didn't say anything, so you're not really actually enjoying the game. And in scenario number 2, he rejects you, and then it makes the game miserable, so he's still more important than the game. And in scenario number 3, I want to say a happy problem. I don't see this as a problem because you are getting what you wanted. Now, if you don't want to focus on that and you want to focus on, oh, this is gonna be so awkward because now I'm the girlfriend, then don't be the girlfriend. But OP, just like in your D&D campaigns that you need to make decisions, life is just the same. You need to make a decision, and then you own it and the consequences, be they positive or negative. I would say even if you fail, it at least gives you peace of mind that you tried. I would say the scenario number 1 is the worst of all, because that one can lead to self-loathing and that is never a good thing. It's basically the good old you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. Anyways, this commentary has been long enough. OP, I would say take this shot and regardless of the outcome, be proud that you took it. And what do you guys think about this situation? What would you do if you were in OP's shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now I'm going to read the little comments that OP got because unfortunately her post didn't blow up that big. The update did though. Nuwaanda says, this happened with my parents and I also met my boyfriend playing Dungeons & Dragons. We've been together 2+ years and are going on our 5th vacation next Saturday. Ask to hang out with him outside of the game environment. Go get drinks or have him join a group of friends to do something not involving Dungeons and Dragons. Spend more time with him and go from there. You have more than those 3 options. Good luck! Jevinator999 says, when you are old, you will regret the stuff you didn't do way more than the stuff you did. I say go for it. And Blimington says, so, did you do it? We're rooting for you. As you can tell, the community didn't engage that much with OP, but the first commenter and the second commenter really gave OP some good advice, and much more concise than I did. So how about we move on to the update to see how this story ends. My original post only got a few hits, and for a long time I forgot the password to the email I used for this, but here's an update. It's happy. I first took a coward's way out and invited our entire group out for an event, but we ended up being the only 2 who went. Eventually, we intentionally hung out one-on-one and started dating. He's every bit as sweet and caring and hilarious as I originally thought he was, slightly more so actually. He's absolutely brilliant and I'm so glad we took the leap. I've never been happier. The rest of my life has been throwing me curveballs all year, but he's been a veritable pillar of support through it all. Crit success for sure. If y'all knew my main account, you'd roll your eyes at how cheesy and head over heels we are for each other from my posts. Thanks to everyone who encouraged me. Well, OP, this is a happy ending because you took some sort of a shot, it worked out for you, and here you are happy. Now, some of you may be wondering why I wanted to share this story since there isn't really any drama. I just wanted to share a story that had a really happy ending. OP's happy, she took a shot, and I think it sends out a good message. So I hope that those of you that heard it did enjoy it. And OP, here's wishing you all the best in the future. Thank you for sharing and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.